Probably heard beef prices are up because the market's high. Yeah, that's what they want you to think. But the truth, they're using that excuse to sell you imported beef at American prices. And here's what's really going on. The big four packers, JBS, Tyson, Cargill, National Beef, controls nearly 85% of U.S. beef processing. When cattle prices rise at the American sale barns, they use it as a cover, a PR excuse to jack up prices of retail beef. But here's the dirty secret. They're not buying that beef from American ranchers. They're importing millions of pounds of cheap foreign beef, grinding it, boxing it, and labeling it product of the USA. So while you're told beef is high because the market's high, they're selling foreign beef at the same inflated price as real U.S. beef and pocketing the difference. Meanwhile, the actual beef raised here by American ranchers, they're exporting it overseas for premium prices, while leaving U.S. consumers stuck with overpaid, imported garbage. It's a bait and switch, and you're paying the tab. When cattle prices are low, they say there's too much supply. When cattle prices are high, they say our costs went up. Either way, they win. It's not the family rancher driving up your grocery bill. It's the foreign-owned packing companies gaming both sides of the market. They've turned the beef aisle into Wall Street. The only real solution is to buy direct from American ranchers, from your state, from your region. Because when you buy from us, your money stays in your community, not some corporate account overseas. They'll keep blaming the market, but we know the truth. They didn't buy American beef, they just priced it like they did. They're exporting the good stuff, importing the cheap stuff, and charging you top dollar for both. That's not inflation, that's manipulation. And the only way to fix it is to stop feeding their system and start feeding your family from a real ranch.
You guys, I can't stay quiet about this. The talk about importing more foreign beef to help lower beef prices, that's not the solution. It's the same failed policy that's already hurt rural communities, shrunk our American cow herd, and handed even more control of our food supply to big corporations. Right now, the four big packer companies are already importing beef from like 20 different countries, including Argentina. They're allowed to sell that beef right beside American beef without a label telling you the difference in the grocery stores. Without mandatory country of origin labeling laws, you as a consumer have no way to know where your beef came from. And that's exactly how the packers like it. More imports won't fix the problem. They'll make it worse. Every pound of foreign beef that's brought in weakens our own cattle industry and puts our nation's food security further at risk. If you care about keeping America's food supply strong and supporting American ranch families, the best thing you can do is be buying ranch direct. Obviously, we'd love for that to be from us at Diamond H Ranch. But even if it's not from us, find a rancher you trust and support them. When you buy ranch direct, your money is going directly to a hardworking American ranch family, and that's the future of American beef. So buy direct, and even better, take a minute to call or email your senators and representatives, tell them to oppose any increase in beef imports from Argentina, and to stand up for American ranchers. It really does make a difference. Let's put America's cattle industry first. More imports aren't the answer. You are.
President Trump plans to flood the beef market with beef from Argentina to help combat the high beef prices here in the United States. Let me tell you why that is a bad idea. For one, the first time in decades, the farmer and rancher is able to finally turn a decent profit and put that money back into their farm and ranch and help keep their ranches alive. Second, if we cheapen American beef, we're going to fall back into the same trend that we were 4, 5, 6 years ago, where we're losing 10 to 20,000 American ranchers every single year. Why would somebody try to continue on a ranch or pass it down to their kids? Why would their kids want to run a ranch that's not even able to make a decent living? And third, a lot of these people are the ones that voted for you. What happened to the America First policy, taking care of the American ranchers and the American people first before anybody else? Now, I'm not saying imports are bad, but flooding the market and making it worse for the American ranchers is not the way to go about this. How do we get the cost of beef down? We got to get the cost of production down for the American ranchers. I'm interested to see what y'all think about this. Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, guys, buy American, buy local, and God bless.
Who knew that importing beef from Argentina was going to leave American farmers and ranchers questioning Trump's loyalties? First, the tariff wars undercut American soybean farmers, and now Trump is importing beef from Argentina. They want to know what's going on here. It turns out President Trump is threading the needle. While he's making deals with Argentina to keep China out of our backyard, he also has to face the reality that beef prices have not come down, and the American consumer feels it every time they check out at the grocery store. By allowing a fraction of Argentine beef into the U.S., he's putting just enough pressure on domestic producers to keep prices in check. And that's where the tension comes in. Ranchers are frustrated because they've seen stable profits thanks to strong demand, even at all-time high prices. But Trump has to decide, does he prioritize the producers of an industry or the pocketbooks of 330 million Americans heading into the holiday season? It's a complicated issue. We can't get hysterical or treat this like betrayal, because sometimes leadership means making uncomfortable trade-offs for the betterment of all Americans, not just one segment. Maybe the real answer isn't blocking imports, but removing the red tape that drives up producers' costs so ranchers can grow their herds and compete freely. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing: affordable food, strong farms, and a stable America. Let me know what you think in the comments.
America just handed Argentina $40 billion. And what are we getting in return? Toxic beef. God damn! That's right. The Trump administration is looking to buy beef from Argentina, a country with a long, dirty history of foot and mouth disease. A virus so contagious it could wipe out U.S. livestock overnight.
I beg your pardon?
Even the National Cattlemen's Beef Association warned that Argentina's history of this disease could decimate American herds. But get this. Newsweek reported that even U.S. officials admitted those imports could be impacted by a foot and mouth disease issue.
Come on, man.
And U.S. ranchers are furious. They're saying this isn't just about one disease, it's about herd health overall and how foreign beef could impact our food supply. Last part's the most important. So let's get this straight. We send them $40 billion and they send back beef that could destroy our own farmers? America's being played again. We're bankrolling countries that can't even control livestock disease while our own ranchers are getting pushed aside? If that sounds insane to you, share this right now, because your next burger might come with a side of foot and mouth disease.
Well, ever since my video on the cattle crash from Friday, for the market crash went out, I've been getting a lot of comments regarding the price of beef in retail situation. Is beef high? Well, it's higher than what it has been. But let's break down the why. Let's start with the top. Americans, beef is one of our top proteins. Demand's incredibly high. And yes, right now the talk is imports. In years past, including 2024, we imported a large amount of beef from multiple countries. But Mexico, being one of those, has the screwworm crisis right now. That's affecting part of our imports. And two, the talks that are currently going on about the trade with Argentina, that's not going to fix the problem on cheaper meat. That just makes someone else get paid while putting more pressure on American cattlemen. The other problem, our herd numbers right now are record lows. Feed yard numbers, record lows. Why? Well, the cost to raise a calf right now is incredibly high. Hay, feed, fuel, all those prices are up. The second problem is in years past we've dealt with droughts, recent years past. That causes ranches to have to reduce herd numbers. Well, when they do that, it takes upwards of 2 years to replace each cow that they get rid of with a new heifer. So, with that being said, the other problem is, while retail price is high, 50 years ago, each cattleman was getting about 60 cents per every beef dollar at retail. That number now is about 37 cents. So the real question is, are the cattlemen really getting rich off of the high price like we think they are? Or like we are being told? Or are we just holding the risk while someone else is cashing in?
Everybody's wound up today because Trump says we're going to import all this beef from Argentina. We're going to lower our beef prices. because the beef's too expensive here. And I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. First of all, it's not really a new thing to import beef. We've imported beef in this country for a long time. What is new, however, is the government getting involved because of the prices and saying the beef prices are too high. We're going to make a deal. We're going to buy a bunch of beef from Argentina, and we're going to undercut the American farmers and ranchers who are finally making some decent money. And that's just, it's a socialist mindset, if you ask me. That's not what I've grown up thinking as an American market, supply and demand. Where did that go?
U.S. farmers really did themselves a number when they voted for Donald Trump. You would think that they'd be smarter, considering that they had already gone through 4 years of his administration. That was no help to them whatsoever. Well, now that they went and voted this fucking clown in, their farms are on the verge of being gone forever. And I am talking about farms that have been in families for generations. But it's really hard to sympathize with these people because they really gave no fucks about me or people of color or LGBTQ. So at this point, I really don't give a fuck about them either. And to add insult to injury, Donald Trump just announced that he is going to be getting beef for our U.S. citizens from Argentina, not the U.S. farmers.
So I'm in Argentina, in cattle country, a couple hours outside Buenos Aires. I'm at a small ranch, which is actually a breeding operation. They help other bigger ranches improve the genetic stock of their cattle. And I interviewed the owner of this operation, whose name is Martin Vivanco, and he said that he's thrilled about the idea of the U.S. dramatically increasing imports of Argentinian beef, which is something Donald Trump has said he wants to do. Martin said that that would be really good for business and that Argentinian beef producers have for a long time aspired to a bigger share of the American market. He also said something else interesting, which is that the beef that's produced here that goes back to the States is not generally mass market stuff that winds up on supermarket shelves. It's really high quality cuts that go to restaurants and caterers, hotels, high-end buyers. And that's because the beef here is just really high quality. It's all like this, like what you see behind me, free-range, grass-fed. The conditions here are perfect for raising really high quality cattle. So it's not likely that these increased exports from here to the US are actually going to really help the American consumer that much. They'll definitely help Argentinian cattle ranchers and exporters. On the other hand, US cattle ranchers are very much not happy about this idea, and my colleague Rosa Flores has been talking to some of them in Nebraska.
I'm Rosa Flores in Hershey, Nebraska. I spoke with 5 cattle ranchers in this area. They're all Republican. They all support President Donald Trump, and they say that they support a lot of his policies. They believe in America first, but they say that they don't agree with the president on everything. In fact, if I were to summarize all the conversations I had into one message from these cattle ranchers, I would say that they believe that the federal government should stay out of their business. They believe in free enterprise.
I agree with him on a lot of his issues, but on this issue, I would disagree with trying to, obviously do anything to lower the price of beef to the beef producers. On the other side of it, you would like to see, a cheaper food supply for the consumer, but not necessarily at the expense of the producer.
So in essence, President Trump don't interfere in the market?
Well, we don't. We appreciate all he does, but being in the market is probably not something we're very anxious to have the government in.
Some Republican lawmakers use the words strongly concerned to describe this move by the president. There's a rancher in Wyoming who used the word betrayed. The ranchers that I talked to here in Nebraska say that's too strong of a word. They say they would use disagreement. They say they don't have beef with the president. They just disagree with him on this.
I was watching a video from U.S. farmers that because we bought Argentina beef that their farm is going to go bankrupt and everything. And I was like, oh, let me go in the comments because I'm sure they're learning their lesson. And the creator's comments like, oh, but like I voted for Trump. He's doing so much good. He's just decimating my farm. And I don't agree with that. I don't think people can learn with these scenarios. I think it's just like they're fucked. I don't know.
Our farmers lose billions. Yeah, that's with a B. Prices are getting higher. I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna buy it from Argentina. Yeah, right? Fuck y'all farmers.
Beef price is down. The only price we have that's high is beef, and we'll get that down. And one of the things we're thinking about doing is beef from Argentina.
So not only did he bail him out with $20 billion and then try to raise it to $40 billion, now he's literally telling you out loud, instead of buying American homemade beef, pause, I'm going to go to Argentina and get that beef. Pause again. It's OD. It's almost as egregious as the shit he's pulling off, and y'all going to sit there and move the goalposts and somehow defend it.
This farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariffs, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world other than, well, they are the only country in the world that buys splorn.
It's okay to just say that man tricked and fools y'all. You don't got to be George Bush with it. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Can't get fooled again. Not y'all niggas got fooled again. Really for a third time, especially farmers. Y'all voted for that man 3 different times. He fucked you over once, didn't win the second time, now he fucked you over again. And I want to have empathy for y'all, but it's at the same time, it's just like, hello, what the fuck you thought was going to happen?
From 12 billion to 0, and then, you know, as a farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. So I get up one morning, I turn the news on, and you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. And then the Chinese buy, I think the figure is 30 or 40 containers, ships, which is about 65,000 metric tons per ship, which is like 2.2 million bushels. So they buy 12 or 14 billion dollars worth of soybeans from the Argentinians.
Well, he's not going to come after me. And then he came after you. And now he's fucking your life up. I don't know. Maybe this is America first, and maybe this is what winning really feels like. Not for America, but for him.
Trump told the cattle ranchers to get fucked and like it. And when they all started whining about him importing Argentinian beef. Let's get into it. So this account here, Merriweather Farms, they've been over on Twitter kissing Trump's ass for years. I'm going to get out of the way, pause it so you can read it all, and then I'll get my fat face back in here. We love and support you, POTUS, but your suggestion to buy beef from Argentina, blah, blah, blah. I love this part, too. On top of all of this, the only chaos is coming from the Department of Agriculture. There is no true guidance, mismatching the copious amounts of photo ops. The cattle ranchers are pissed. And Trump could give a fuck less. The cattle ranchers don't understand. Here's what he told the cattle ranchers that they were doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put tariffs on the cattle coming into the United States. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as they've done for the past 20 years. Terrible. Let's see what the cattle ranchers associations think about it and how well they're doing. This is a tweet from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Cattlemen and women cannot stand behind President Trump while he undercuts the future of family farmers and ranchers by importing Argentinian beef. It is imperative that POTUS and Secretary Collins lets markets work without interference. If the administration is truly an ally of America's cattle producers, we call on him to abandon this effort to manipulate markets and focus on these things. It don't sound like they're doing too well to me, does it? I love nothing more than when he pisses in his supporters' faces and tells them to enjoy it. He tells them they're doing great when they're not doing great. It's what he does to the entire fucking country all the time. So I fucking love it when his supporters get it thrown right in their fucking faces what is happening in this country. And then they want to whine and cry about it. Look, let me tell you something. You don't owe these people any empathy. No one who voted for Donald Trump deserves your empathy. If they're losing their farms, if they're losing their ranches, if they're losing their health care, if they're losing their food assistance, they do not deserve your empathy. They show no one else any empathy. These people, these ranchers, these farmers, none of these Trump voters gave a fuck if he was harming other people. So do not give them the empathy that they do not deserve.
All right, it's been a crazy week for ranchers in internet land, so let's get into it. Let's talk about Trump's tweet. First of all, nobody should be surprised by this. This is how he rolls. This is how he talks. This is what he does. I'm not surprised. He says a lot of crazy things. I can tell you the reason we have high beef prices is not because of tariffs on Brazil. Hi, ladies. Hi, ladies. I'm not an economics major, but this is simple supply and demand Economics 101. The American cattle herd right now is the smallest it has been in over 70 years. But Americans still want high quality American beef. Supply goes down and demand goes up, price increases. We quite literally do not have enough cattle right now to meet demand. The market is also cyclical. There are ups and downs. The last time we had a nice high like this was around 2014. Definitely didn't last as long as then. Farmers and ranchers are selling out at alarming rates. Ranches are disappearing, and it's really sad, honestly. But it also makes sense because it is so expensive. Most years we are lucky to break even. A lot of family members aren't wanting to come back to the ranch. Feed costs are soaring, input costs are soaring. Developers come in and offer top dollar for land. They want to come in and build 1,000 of the same cookie cutter houses. Generational ranches get divided up amongst family members, and the barrier to entry is astronomical. It's almost impossible to just go buy land and start a ranch. Okay, second thing is, we have always imported beef and probably always will. We're not importing like the nice, juicy, tender ribeyes and fillets that Americans want. We are importing a lot of lean trim and ground beef to meet the ground beef demand. We've always done that. That's not a new thing. Would like to see less emphasis on that and more emphasis on the American rancher. So as far as short-term solutions, I really don't think there are any because that is not how ranching works. This is generational work. Cattle industry is so unique and so segmented. It is not like poultry or anything like that. You could incubate an egg in 21 days and have a chick and have some eggs a few months later. These are our heifers. Some were born this year, some were born last year. We won't get a calf off of these for about 1 to 2 years. That calf has to grow for about 1 to 2 years. We won't make any money off of these for several years, and there won't be any beef from these females for several years. So as for these girls, these are part of our breeding stock. So they will actually stay here their whole lives till they're about 10, 11, 12 years old. However long they can keep being bred and be healthy, happy, and safe until they go into the food supply chain. So that's what I mean when I say this takes time. This is generational work. You could have a calf today, and bare minimum, you probably won't get beef off of that animal, high quality beef, for about 2 years. For trying to regrow the American cattle herd, it's gonna take a lot of time. As for long-term solutions, I'm generally very pro small government. If you go read Thomas Jefferson, America was founded as a self-sufficient agrarian society, free from dependency, corruption. That's what we believe in. That being said, I do think there's an opportunity for the government to help people stay in ranching, get into ranching, and help us be profitable. I don't have all the answers. It's definitely some things worth talking about, maybe things like land grants, maybe some subsidies, things like that to actually help ranchers make money and stay in business so that we're not losing ranchers and family members to 9-to-5 corporate jobs. Being said, we do not need the government coming in and telling us how to do our jobs. America raises the best high quality beef in the world, truly, hands down. No one does beef like the US. Our product is in demand. No one finishes cattle like we do, have the production practices like we do, and the sustainability that we do. I can guarantee you, people in DC do not know the difference between a heifer, a cow, a bull, and a steer. So we don't need cabinet members, politicians coming in telling us how to take care of our animals and our land. That is what ranchers do best. Cowboys are the original conservationists. And I can tell you, because I'm a first generation rancher, we live, breathe, eat this all day long. We're outside of the industry. It is very confusing. I had so much to learn when I first started doing this. The public doesn't really understand what a cow-calf operation is, what a stalker is. We know how to do our job better than anybody. I don't have all the answers. We're just out here trying to do the best we can. We are enjoying high beef prices. Actually get to make a little bit of a profit for once, so a lot of people are able to get ahead on loans and things like that, which I think is helpful to the American rancher. Just out here doing the best we can and trying to raise the stakes.